So from when we started to when we ended in 3 years, these dotted lines show that the team was at about 58 in 2010. They were at somewhere in the 70s, 2011. They hit 98, 2012. And 2013, they went to 124 projects. They more than doubled their throughput, and they did it by pretty much following all of these 17 tiles. This is exactly how we set it up, and this is what we were able to deliver. And the company was extremely happy because at the end, at 58 projects a year, they had almost 4.5 years worth of projects in their project backlog. They delivered over 290 projects in those 3 years, resulting in freeing up almost 1.5 years of budget. I think in the book I counted it at about 18 million of value add, but the reality is probably closer to 27 million in value add, since you now had 18 teams and 70 people on the operations marketing side who had delivered 290 projects, which was 30 more than what was on the original list. And they did it with 10% less people, because we didn't hire very many people, if any, at all, to replace people who left due to natural attrition. And so with 10% less people, at the end, we delivered 10% more of projects, and we did it a year and a half faster. And so that was like a 1/3 compression in time. And it saved the company a ton of budget that they could reinvest on new projects and programs moving forward. So that is the power of using the concepts that we do in Flow to deliver what the organization wants and needs. Here's just a brief slide on aligning the leadership work streams and cadences. So at the portfolio level, you might have a quarterly rhythm. You might have a product backlog there. You might have an Agile Transformation group or an Agile Transformation team who are working together, and they should be focused on helping the organization transform the mindset, helping everyone from the C-suite to the teams not just talk the talk, but actually walk the talk. You don't get any benefit of flow until you take the principles that we teach out of the book and apply it to your work. It doesn't do any good for it to sit in the book and for you guys not to use it. And this is the same here. It doesn't do you any good to watch these videos and for you to not take what we have here and use it in your daily work. And so part of the Agile Transformation group or team, whatever you're going to call it, part of their job is to over-communicate the vision by a factor of 10. So 10 times more than you think you need to communicate, you communicate. At the same time, in parallel, we still had a PMO. That was one of the reasons I was brought in, was to revive the PMO. And they had an old copy of Microsoft Project Server, which we promptly threw out. And at the program level, we're going to be dealing with the structures, the standards, the tools, and it's a tool set view. And we had to sort into persistent dedicated teams. We had to smoke out cross dependencies between the teams. We had to figure out what the integration items were between the teams if they were working on the same products or processes or services that we were providing both to the customers and to the stakeholders within the organization. And so this is just something to keep in mind. And now those two groups need to work closely together. In this case, I led both the Agile Program Management Office, and I led the Agile Portfolio Management. So both of those reported to me, but none of this was done by myself. I had an army of people that made this happen, and it just took time. Did we get everybody with? No. But we got enough people with and up that aha curve that we were able to double the productivity of the organization and save them tens of millions of dollars on budget. Recently, I've run into a lot of other methodologies that people seem to be talking a lot about. We'll be talking just briefly about teal thinking. How does that map? These are my thoughts. This isn't really something that I've had a lot of time to mull over, but these are thoughts and concepts that are out there that are impacting, especially in the Agile coaching area. And in the enterprise agile coaching area, you'll start to be running into these thoughts more and more. So I'm just going to chat about a couple of these, and these are incidental to the 17. I just wanted people to start to think about how they would think about how do these fit. You might have a completely different view than me, but I'll give it a stab, and we'll see what you guys think. Now, here's flow mapped to a thing called teal thinking. I saw Lissa Adkins present this at a seminar about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago in Stockholm, Sweden. And it was interesting. Her observation is that most people leading the organizations are orange, results-driven people. She also mentioned that teal people are about only 7% of the total population are capable of doing teal thinking. And then the amber was more tradition-driven individuals, and the green were people-driven, which I thought was very interesting. And we're going to go into that a little bit more on the next slide. On this slide, I think I'm going to start with the orange because that's the leaders in most organizations. They're pragmatic, success-oriented, and they're used to dealing with complex logic. A lot of times these leaders will question authority. They'll get ahead. They value freedom and achievement, innovation, accountability, and meritocracy. Okay, so these are the lead follower, get out of my way leaders in the organization. And again, this is exactly what Paul DeModica said in his book, Value Forward Selling. There's only 3 reasons you're going to do a project, product, program, process, service, result that you're trying to achieve. And that's make more money, get rid of or eliminate costs, and get rid of or mitigate risk. And we added the 4th one, do the right thing. Okay? But typically it's those 3 that the orange results-driven agilists in an organization are going to want to see. Okay? For the yellow, and this fits so well, it fits so well for the product part of the organization, where you have the programs, processes, line management, business ownership, and things like that. And at this level, they're tradition-driven, agile. I just love that, tradition-driven. These people love their processes. They'll cling to their process, and you'll have to pull it out of their cold, clammy hands in order to be able to help them move forward. But this corner of the box, they have an awareness of social roles. They follow authority, man. These are your foot soldiers. They will burn the boats and follow the leaders and move forward with no turning back. The world for them is very black and white. So when you start trying to teach them Agile, you get nothing but pushback, resistance, and a ton of yes, comma, buts. So it's a bunch of yes, buts. And they can see others' expectations, but these people tend to be very dogmatic. They'll take a longer term perspective. They want consistent process size and stability and hierarchy. And I was just like, oh man, if that's not program management, I don't know what is. Okay? It just fit perfectly in the product program corner. By the way, I believe that the gray ones here were the labels that Lissa had used. It may or may not be right, but I'm vaguely remembering that that's what those were. So hers sort of follows the 4 box here, but she didn't do it quite this way. Now, the green, people-driven agile, fairness, community, equality of perspectives, justice for all, consensus, relationship over outcomes, collaboration over contract, empowerment, values-driven culture, multi-stakeholder perspective, sit in a circle, hold hands, sing kumbaya, which is great because if that helps the team deliver incredible value, I'm all for it. That's awesome. Okay. But you can immediately see the conflicts between the boxes growing. And this is what makes it so terribly difficult for agile purists to step up over into the right 2 boxes in the product and organization boxes and be effective. Because what's expected over there is polar opposite to what they're doing. Okay? So this last box, I put teal in the individual because I really don't know what to do with it. If only 7% can achieve teal thinking, what's the point? Okay? I mean, seriously. When the organizations are really aligned and arranged how I already have it for orange, amber, and green, I'm not sure where teal fits. Focus on integrity. Great. That's the 4R model. Do you have the right truth? See systematically. Well, that would be the whole idea of flow. Disidentifies with own ego. Servant leaders are not weak-willed. They have a tenacious steel will that will get it done. But a servant leader doesn't inject their ego into it. It's not a larger-than-life person that is inspiring in the way that you would think that they inspire. Okay? But they can disidentify with their own ego because they can put the needs of others first. Because they know if they do that right, via servant leadership, they're going to go a long way. They're purpose-driven. That doesn't mean that they're not focused on achieving really outstanding and remarkable results. They go after radical authenticity. And on the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about radical collaboration's 5 skills. Okay. And again, those radical collaboration things align with the 4R model and just being authentic. It also aligns with the vision of walking the talk or talking the talk. It's that simple. Okay. Inner rightness. Well, 4R model again. Do you have internally the right truth and have you distilled the right values and attitudes? And that becomes their compass. And then the wisdom beyond rationality. That means they trust their intuition. I mean, if I really listened to the little voice more often, I would be light years ahead of where I'm at. So that doesn't mean that in any of these other 3 boxes you can't have a teal person. It'd be great if you had a teal person leading the agile team there in the green corner. It'd be great to have a teal person leading the programs in the amber box there under product and program. And it would be absolutely awesome to have a teal-driven person in the orange results-driven corner because that combination would just be explosive. That would be mind-boggling. And in his book, Good to Great, Jim Collins went through and identified basically almost every one of those leaders he didn't define it this way, but they would have been teal impact driven agilists, if you want to think about it that way. So this is just something for you to mull over. This is Andrew's view of teal thinking. I know that there's additional colors. I don't address those. I'm not really interested in those. This fit into how I view the world, and this fits into my observation of how most companies operate. And this gives one of the way I've structured this gives one of the best explanations of why agile purists die when they try to scale agile into the product program box and into the portfolio organization box, because of this culture clash. And it's just beautiful the way it's sorted out. So those are my thoughts. You can do with it what you want, but it definitely probably doesn't follow Agile Coaching Institute's view. They're going to have a completely different view, probably based on what I remember from Lisa sharing. And so, yeah, this is what I had for this one.